angels descended with reverence. Padre Pio watched heaven open with beauty that made him weep. Not violently, not with urgency, with sacred gentleness. A woman was sitting beside a deathbed. She had been there for days, watching, waiting, caring for someone who was dying, and heaven was responding in ways she could not see. The woman was exhausted. She had not slept properly in weeks. The person dying was not her family, not even a close friend, just someone who had no one else. Everyone else had left. Too painful to watch, too difficult to bear. But this woman stayed. She wiped the dying person's forehead with a cool cloth. She spoke softly about beautiful things. She held the weak hand gently. She sang quietly. She prayed. She did not leave, even when death was clearly coming, even when it would have been easier to walk away. That is when Padre Pio saw what heaven does in the presence of such love. The vision had come to him while he prayed for the dying. He was asking God to grant them peace. Suddenly he saw beyond the veil. He witnessed what was happening in the spiritual realm. Angels surrounded the room. Not just one or two, dozens of them. They moved with slow precision. They were preparing something, creating something beautiful. One angel stood beside the woman, not touching her, just present, giving her strength she did not know she was receiving. Every time she felt she could not continue, the angel gave more. She thought it was her own will. It was not. Another angel knelt beside the dying person. It was easing the transition, making it gentle, taking away the fear that usually comes, bringing peace that medicine could not give. A third angel was building something magnificent, a pathway, from this world to the next, smooth, safe, radiant. The dying person would not walk alone, would not stumble in darkness, would not face terror. Heaven had responded to this woman's compassion as though caring for the dying was the most sacred act a human could perform. And perhaps it was. Padre Pio felt awe settle over him. He had seen people care for the dying before, nurses, doctors, family members. But this response was different, more beautiful, more complete, more sacred. Why? What made this woman's care different from all others he had witnessed? Days later, something shocked Padre Pio deeply. He saw another deathbed, another caregiver. But this caregiver was different. She cared for the dying person efficiently, professionally. She did everything required medically. But there was no love. She did it for money. She watched the clock constantly. She wanted to leave. The spiritual realm was quiet. A few angels were present. They did minimal work. The transition would happen. But it would be cold, clinical, empty. Heaven was not responding with power. Not because the person dying was unimportant, but because the care had no love. Padre Pio understood immediately. Both people were caring for the dying. Both were doing the physical work required. Both were present at the bedside. But heaven saw what filled each person's heart. The first woman cared because she loved, not because she had to. Not because she was paid. Not because it was her duty. She stayed because someone needed presence. Because dying alone is the worst death. The second woman cared because it was her job. She did it correctly. She followed all protocols. But her heart was not present. She counted the hours until she could leave. Heaven responds to love given to the dying, not to duty performed without heart. Weeks later, something shocked Padre Pio even more profoundly. The angels had not left the first woman. They were still there, still surrounding her, still blessing her. And what they did next revealed the secret most people never learn about caring for the dying with love. The woman's life began to change in mysterious ways. Peace filled her that she had never known before. Strength came when she needed it. Her own fears of death disappeared completely. She did not understand why. She thought caring for the dying person had simply brought perspective. She had no idea what had happened in the spiritual realm during those days at the bedside. But Padre Pio saw the truth clearly. The angels had marked her. They remained with her because she had done what angels do. She had made the transition from life to death beautiful for someone. And heaven does not forget that kind of love. Heaven protects those who care for the dying with love. Because they are doing God's own work. Nothing moved for a long moment. Then the vision deepened significantly. Padre Pio began to see the pattern heaven was revealing to him. The care that summoned heaven's full response was not the most skilled medically, not the most professional, not the most efficient. It was the most loving. The souls that brought heaven to immediate action were those whose care carried a very specific quality. It was not about medical knowledge. It was not about following procedures. It was entirely about presence. About loving someone through their final moments on earth. These souls did not care for the dying to appear compassionate to others. They cared because someone was leaving this world, and they wanted that person to leave in peace, surrounded by love, not alone in darkness. And heaven cannot resist that kind of selfless compassion. At first, Padre Pio saw only the outward act. Both people were caring for dying persons, both were present at the bedside, both were doing required tasks, but heaven saw what motivated each person. The first woman's care had been completely pure, no calculation, no concern for her own comfort or convenience, no watching the clock. She was fully present because someone needed her presence, even if that person could not thank her, even if no one would ever know what she had done. The second woman's care had been mechanical. She did the required tasks correctly, she followed proper procedures, but her heart was absent. She was there in body only, and heaven responds to presence, never to procedures alone. The vision paused once more. Padre Pio felt heaven preparing to reveal something even deeper. Not just what happened when people cared for the dying, but why this specific care unleashed such tremendous blessing. The silence stretched longer. His breathing slowed. The room felt heavier somehow. Then the vision resumed, but it came differently now. Padre Pio saw that caring for the dying with love mirrors exactly how God receives us at the end, with infinite patience, with tender gentleness, with constant presence, making the transition beautiful instead of terrifying. When someone cares for the dying without love, it is just task completion. The dying person feels alone even with someone present. The transition is cold. Heaven can do little because genuine love is absent. But when someone cares for the dying with genuine love, heaven joins actively in that work. Angels come to assist. The transition becomes sacred. The dying person feels held, safe, loved, protected. And that kind of love summons heaven's absolute full participation. A soul that cares for the dying has released all concern for personal comfort, for convenience, for their own feelings and fears. They stay when staying is hardest. They love when loving hurts deeply. And that level of sacrifice moves all of heaven. Padre Pio understood now what made the critical difference. Caring for the dying is not about medical skill or knowledge, not about efficiency or professionalism, not about appearing compassionate to observers. It is entirely about love, about giving presence to someone who cannot possibly give anything back, about making death less frightening, about being the hands of God in someone's final moments. The soul cares when caring costs everything, when watching death is painful, when the dying person cannot thank them or even know them, when no one else sees or appreciates it. That level of sacrifice proves the love is completely real. That vulnerability reveals the heart is pure. He saw another powerful example. An old man whose neighbor was dying. The neighbor had no family at all. The hospice could only come twice a day. The neighbor would die alone unless someone chose to stay. The old man moved into his neighbor's home for the final 3 weeks. He slept in an uncomfortable chair. He woke every time the dying man stirred. He held his hand through the night. He sang old songs. He read aloud. He prayed constantly. Padre Pio watched angels fill that humble home. The moment the old man made the choice to stay, heaven responded with power. Angels surrounded both men. The dying man's fear disappeared completely. Peace came. The transition was gentle and beautiful. The old man stayed until the very end. He closed his neighbor's eyes. He washed the body with care. He arranged the funeral. He did it all with love. But Padre Pio saw the angels clearly. They remained with the old man for years after that. Every time he faced his own fears of death, they reminded him silently. He had made death beautiful for someone else. His own death would be beautiful too. Protected, sacred. The single choice to care lovingly for someone dying had opened heaven's complete protection over his entire life. The vision began its final fade. Padre Pio remained completely still. He would never tell people to care for the dying in order to gain blessing, but he would say quietly to those who came seeking his guidance, when someone is dying, and they have no one, and you can be there, stay, not because you have to, not because it seems right, not because you want reward, but because dying alone is the most terrible thing, because your presence can transform death from terror to peace. Because love matters most at the very end. Stay even when it hurts. Even when you desperately want to leave. Even when death frightens you. Not to gain blessing, but because that is exactly how God loves. Present until the very end. Never abandoning. Always holding. And watch what happens. Watch how heaven responds when you give love to someone who cannot possibly give anything back. He sat in profound silence long after the vision ended completely. The room felt different now. Not heavier, not lighter, just sacred somehow. The truth remained with him permanently, not as technique, but as reality. Angels respond to caring for the dying immediately, not because heaven rewards compassion, but because loving the dying mirrors how God loves us. And when humans love like God, heaven joins that work completely. The kind of blessing that changes everything, the kind heaven has always waited to give.